There's only one room left, ma'am. One bed. You'll have to share it, or sleep in the terminal. The words hit like a slap. Elena stared at the hotel receptionist, her soaked dress clinging to her skin, her hair dripping onto the marble floor. Hours. She'd spent hours at that cursed airport, watching her flight get canceled, rescheduled, then canceled again. And now this. Share it? With a stranger? The receptionist didn't even blink. The storm shut down half the city, ma'am. Every hotel is fully booked. This is all we have. Behind her, a voice, calm, smooth, infuriatingly composed, spoke up. I'll take it. Elena whipped around. The man standing there looked like he'd just stepped out of a magazine. Tailored suit. Perfect hair. Not a single drop of rain on him, as if the storm itself had decided he was too important to touch. Their eyes met, and something sparked. Sharp. Magnetic. Annoying. Excuse me? Elena's voice rose. You'll take it? I've been waiting here for. So have I, he interrupted, his tone maddeningly even. And unless you want to argue all night, I suggest we both take the room. It's late. We're both tired. Let's be adults about this. Elena's jaw tightened. Adults. Adults. As if she was the one being childish. The receptionist cleared her throat. So, will you both be checking in? Elena wanted to say no. Wanted to march out of there and find somewhere, anywhere, else. But the rain was still hammering against the windows. The terminal chairs were plastic and freezing. And this man, this stranger with his perfect posture and irritating calm, was already pulling out his credit card. Fine, she muttered. But I'm taking the bed. He didn't even look at her. We'll see. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back. Before we dive deeper into this storm, into this night that changes everything, I have one small request. Please subscribe. Your support is what keeps these stories alive, what allows us to share love, hope, and connection across borders and oceans. Through these stories, we build futures for women and children who need a voice. So if this story touches you, if it makes you feel something real, join our family. Hit that subscribe button, and let me know in the comments, where are you watching from? I'd love to know. Now let's continue. The suite was beautiful. Floor-to-ceiling windows, soft lighting, a king-sized bed in the center, draped in white sheets that looked too perfect to touch. One bed. Elena dropped her bag by the door and stared at it. The stranger, Adrian, the receptionist had called him, walked past her without a word, loosening his tie as he moved toward the window. I'll take the couch, he said simply. Elena blinked. She'd been ready for a fight, ready to defend her claim to the bed. But he'd just given it to her. Why? The question slipped out before she could stop it. He glanced over his shoulder, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Because you look like you've been through hell tonight. And I don't need to add to it. Something softened in her chest. Just a little. Thank you, she whispered. He nodded. You're welcome. For a moment, the tension eased. The storm outside faded to background noise. And Elena realized she didn't even know this man's full name. Elena, she offered. Elena Morris. Adrian Cole. The name sounded familiar. Important. But she was too exhausted to place it. Then, without warning, the lights flickered. Once. Twice. And went out completely. The room plunged into darkness. Only the faint glow of the city below filtered through the rain-streaked windows. Elena's breath caught. And in the silence, in the dark, she heard Adrian move closer. Looks like we're in this together now, he said softly. Elena's heart pounded. One room. One bed. One night. And everything was about to change. The darkness wrapped around them like a living thing. Elena stood frozen, her eyes struggling to adjust. She could hear Adrian moving, calm, purposeful, while her own heart hammered against her ribs. Stay there, he said. I'll find the candles. Candles? Luxury hotels always have them. Emergency protocol. Of course he would know that. Of course Adrian Cole would know exactly what to do while she stood there like a lost child in the dark. A flame flickered to life. Then another. And another. The room transformed. Soft golden light danced across the walls, casting shadows that made everything feel intimate. Too intimate. Elena watched as Adrian placed candles on the nightstand, the dresser, the windowsill. His hands moved with precision, and she found herself studying him, really looking at him for the first time. Strong jawline. Focused eyes. The kind of face that belonged on billboards. Better, he asked, turning to face her. Much. Her voice came out quieter than she intended. They stood there, the candlelight flickering between them, and Elena realized something unsettling. She was very aware of this man. The way he moved, the way he looked at her, the way the storm had trapped them together in this golden bubble of light and shadow. "So," Adrian said, settling into the armchair near the window, "what brings Elena Morris to Lagos on a night like this?" She sat on the edge of the bed, keeping distance between them. "Work. I'm a designer. Pitching a project tomorrow. Well, today now. If I can even get there." "What kind of design?" "Urban development. Sustainable architecture. Buildings that breathe with the city instead of suffocating it." She paused. "You probably think that sounds ridiculous." "Not at all." His eyes held hers. "I think it sounds passionate. Necessary." Something warm unfurled in her chest. When was the last time someone had looked at her like that? Like her work mattered. Like she mattered. "What about you?" she asked. "What does Adrian Cole do when he's not sharing hotel rooms with strangers?" A smile ghosted across his lips. "I run things. Build things. Try to make systems work better than they did before." Vague. Controlled. Everything about him was measured, careful. "That's the most corporate answer I've ever heard," Elena said, surprising herself with a laugh. "Guilty." He leaned back, and for the first time, she saw him relax. "Just a fraction. I'm not very good at this." "This?" "Talking. Without an agenda. Without a meeting to run or a deal to close." He looked at her, something vulnerable flickering in his eyes. "It's been a while since I just existed with someone." The confession hung in the air between them. Elena's throat tightened. She understood that feeling. The loneliness that came from being constantly surrounded by people, but never truly seen. Never truly known. "Me too," she whispered. The rain intensified outside, drumming against the windows like 1,000 urgent fingers. Inside, the candles burned steady and warm. They talked then. Really talked. About dreams deferred and fears buried deep. About the pressure to succeed and the cost of ambition. About the moments when life felt too big and too small all at once. Hours dissolved like sugar in hot tea. And somewhere between midnight and dawn, Elena found herself laughing, really laughing, at one of Adrian's dry observations about airport coffee. He smiled at the sound, and she noticed the way his eyes crinkled at the corners. Beautiful. The word floated through her mind unbidden. She stood to blow out a candle near the window, the one that had started to flicker dangerously. The polished floor caught the hem of her dress. She slipped. Adrian lunged forward, catching her. Their bodies collided. His arms wrapped around her waist, and their lips brushed. Soft. Brief. Electric. Time stopped. Elena's breath caught in her throat. Adrian's hands tightened on her waist, steadying her, but he didn't let go. Didn't step back. Their faces remained inches apart. His eyes searched hers, dark and intense in the candlelight. Neither of them moved. Elena could feel the heat radiating from Adrian's body, could feel his breath against her lips. His hands remained on her waist, firm, steady, burning through the fabric of her dress. "Sorry," he whispered, but he didn't sound sorry at all. "It's okay," she breathed back, but her voice shook. Because it wasn't okay. Nothing about this was okay. The way her heart raced. The way she wanted him to close that impossible distance between them. The way every nerve in her body screamed for him to kiss her again, properly this time. Adrian's thumb traced a small circle against her hip. Such a small gesture. Such a devastating effect. "Elena." His voice was rough now, stripped of that corporate polish. Raw. She looked up at him, and in his eyes she saw everything he wasn't saying. The want. The hesitation. The war between control and surrender. "We shouldn't," he said. "I know. You're leaving tomorrow. I know. This is just one night. I know." But knowing didn't stop her from leaning closer. Didn't stop her fingers from reaching up to touch his jaw, feeling the slight stubble there. Didn't stop the way her body fitted against his like they'd been designed for this exact moment. Adrian's eyes darkened. His hand came up to cup her face, his touch impossibly gentle for someone who looked so controlled, so untouchable. They stood there on the edge of something dangerous and beautiful, one breath away from crossing a line they couldn't uncross. And then, a loud mechanical roar shattered the silence. The heater kicked back to life with a violent sputter, hot air blasting into the room. The overhead lights flickered once, twice, then flooded the suite with harsh brightness. Elena jumped back. Adrian's hands fell away. The spell broke. They stood there, blinking in the sudden light, the romantic glow of candlelight replaced by cold reality. The storm outside had begun to ease. The rain softened to a steady patter instead of a roar. "I should," Adrian cleared his throat, running a hand through his hair, the first uncontrolled gesture she'd seen from him. I should let you sleep. Big day tomorrow. Elena nodded, not trusting her voice. He moved toward the couch, his movements stiff now, mechanical. Professional Adrian was back. Corporate Adrian. The man who ran things and built things and never lost control. But she'd seen beneath that mask, had felt the way he trembled when he held her, had heard the rawness in his voice. Elena climbed into the bed, pulling the covers up to her chin, hyper-aware of him just 15 feet away. The room felt too small and too large all at once. Adrian? Yes. Thank you. For tonight. For everything. Silence stretched between them. You're welcome, Elena Morris. She closed her eyes, but sleep felt impossible. Every cell in her body was alive, buzzing, aching for something she couldn't name. Or maybe she could name it. Maybe she just didn't want to. The night settled around them. Two strangers in one room. One almost kiss that felt like everything. One night that was rapidly running out. Morning came too soon. Elena woke to soft light filtering through the curtains. The storm had passed. The city outside looked washed clean, gleaming in the early sun. She sat up, disoriented, and looked toward the couch. Empty. Her heart dropped. Then she saw it. A note on the nightstand, written in precise handwriting on hotel stationery. Elena, had to catch the early flight to New York. Didn't want to wake you, you looked peaceful. Thank you for making this night unforgettable. I hope your presentation goes beautifully. They'd be fools not to choose you. Hey, that was it. No number. No last name repeated. No, let's stay in touch. Just a note. And a hollow ache spreading through her chest. Elena pressed the paper to her heart, feeling ridiculous and heartbroken all at once. One night. That's all it was ever supposed to be. So why did it feel like she'd just lost something irreplaceable? She showered, dressed, packed her things mechanically. Professional Elena was back too. Designer Elena. The woman with a presentation to give and a future to build. At checkout, she handed in her key, barely hearing the receptionist's cheerful goodbye. And then she saw him. Across the lobby. Adrian Cole. Standing by the entrance. Suitcase in hand. Phone pressed to his ear. Their eyes met. Time stopped. Again. The universe isn't done with them yet. If this story is making you feel something real, subscribe and become part of our family. We're building hope, one story at a time. Drop a comment. Have you ever let someone walk away and regretted it? Let me know below. The lobby noise faded to nothing. Adrian lowered his phone slowly, his eyes locked on hers. Elena stood frozen, her suitcase handle clutched so tight her knuckles turned white. He'd said he was leaving. The note said he was leaving. But here he was. Still here. Adrian took a step toward her, then stopped, like he was fighting himself, like every rule he lived by told him to turn around and walk away. I thought, Elena's voice cracked. Your note said. I couldn't. 2 words. Simple. Devastating. I got to the airport and I couldn't get on that plane. Her heart thundered. Why? He crossed the space between them then, and nothing else mattered. Not the people watching. Not the world outside. Not the logic that said this was crazy. Because last night, he stopped, searching for words. Last night I felt more alive than I have in years. And I couldn't walk away without telling you that. Elena's breath caught. Adrian. I don't do this, he continued, his voice urgent now, raw. I don't chase feelings. I don't believe in fate or destiny or storms that bring people together. But you, he shook his head. You've completely undone me, Elena Morris. Tears pricked her eyes. I have a presentation. In 2 hours. I know. You have to be in New York. I know. This is insane. I know. A small smile tugged at his lips. So tell me to leave. Tell me this was just one night, and I'll go. I'll get on that plane, and you'll never see me again. Elena stared at him. At this man who'd held her in candlelight. Who'd caught her when she fell. Who looked at her like she was something precious and terrifying all at once. She couldn't say it. Couldn't tell him to leave. I don't want you to go, she whispered. Relief flooded his face. Good. Because I'm not going anywhere. 3 days later, Elena walked into the biggest presentation of her career. Her design team had prepared for months. The sustainable architecture project that would reshape an entire district. The pitch that could define her future. She smoothed her blazer, took a deep breath, and stepped into the conference room. And froze. Sitting at the head of the table, surrounded by executives in expensive suits, was Adrian Cole. Their eyes met across the room. Recognition. Shock. Something that felt like destiny laughing at them both. Ms. Morris, one of the executives said, "We're ready when you are. I'd like to introduce you to our CEO, Adrian Cole. He'll be making the final decision on this project." CEO. CEO. Elena's mind reeled. The man who'd shared her room, who'd held her in the dark, who'd confessed she'd undone him, was the CEO of the company she was pitching to. Adrian's expression remained perfectly neutral, but she saw the tension in his jaw, the way his fingers tightened on his pen. "Ms. Morris." He nodded formally. "Please proceed." Professional. Distant. As if they were strangers. Elena's hands trembled as she clicked to her first slide. But then she looked at her design, the buildings that breathed, the green spaces that gave life back to the city, and she remembered why she was here. She presented beautifully, passionately, every word precise, every image powerful, and through it all, she felt Adrian's eyes on her, watching, listening, seeing her in a way no one else in that room could. When she finished, the room erupted in quiet murmurs of approval. "Excellent work, Ms. Morris," one executive said. "Very impressive," said another. Adrian remained silent, his gaze steady on her face. "We'll be in touch," he said finally. "Thank you for your time." Dismissed. Professional. Over. Elena gathered her materials, her heart sinking. Had she imagined everything between them? Had it meant nothing? She was halfway to the door when his voice stopped her. "Ms. Morris, a moment, please." The other executives filed out, and suddenly they were alone. The conference room felt like that hotel suite. Intimate. Charged. Impossible. Adrian stood, moving around the desk toward her. "That was extraordinary," he said softly. "Thank you." Elena, her name on his lips felt like a prayer. "We need to talk. Really talk." "When?" "Now. Tonight. Whenever you'll give me." She looked up at him, this powerful man who somehow looked vulnerable standing before her. "Coffee," she whispered. "The real kind." His smile was sunrise. "No storms. No accidents. Just us." "Just us," she echoed. Sometimes the universe conspires to bring two souls together. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into walks along the marina, the Lagos skyline glittering like scattered diamonds against the night. Adrian held her hand, like he'd never let go. And slowly, carefully, they built something real. No storm. No forced proximity. No accidents. Just two people choosing each other, over and over again. Elena learned that Adrian wasn't just a CEO. He was a man who'd built an empire from nothing, who carried the weight of thousands of employees on his shoulders, who'd forgotten how to be anything other than controlled and perfect. Until her. "You scare me," he confessed one evening, as they sat on her apartment balcony, the city humming below them. "You make me want things I thought I'd given up on." "Like what?" "Like this. Connection. Someone who sees me, not the title, not the success. Just me." Elena leaned her head on his shoulder. "I see you, Adrian Cole, and I'm not going anywhere." His arm tightened around her. "Promise?" "Promise." The weeks blurred into months. Adrian would show up at her studio with takeout when she worked late, sitting quietly while she sketched and dreamed. Elena would surprise him at his office, pulling him away from endless meetings to remind him that life existed outside boardrooms. They argued sometimes, her passion clashing with his logic, but even their arguments felt like a dance. Push and pull. Fire and calm. Two pieces that shouldn't fit, but somehow did. One Saturday, 6 months after that storm, Adrian took her to a park. Not just any park. The one overlooking the water, where couples walked hand in hand and children chased pigeons across the grass. "I need to tell you something," he said, his voice unusually nervous. Elena's heart skipped. "Okay." That night, the storm, the hotel room, all of it. I've replayed it 1,000 times in my head. He turned to face her, taking both her hands in his. And every time, I come back to the same conclusion. Which is, that fate didn't make a mistake. That storm wasn't random. It was necessary. His eyes held hers, intense and sure. Because it brought me to you. Elena's breath caught. Adrian knelt. Right there, in the middle of the park, with the sun setting behind him and the world watching. "Elena Morris," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You've undone me in the most beautiful way. You've taught me that control isn't strength, vulnerability is. That perfection isn't in having everything together, but in finding someone who loves you when you fall apart." He pulled out a ring, simple, elegant, perfect. "Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down her face. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." He slipped the ring on her finger and stood, pulling her into his arms. And there, in that park where fate had led them, they kissed like it was the first time and the 1,000th time all at once. The wedding was intimate. Candlelight everywhere, a callback to that first night. Close friends and family watching as Elena walked down the aisle toward the man who'd caught her when she fell. Adrian's eyes never left hers. When they exchanged vows, his voice trembled. "I promise to hold you in the storms, to be your light when the power goes out, to choose you every single day for the rest of my life." Elena's vows were simpler. "I promise to undo you over and over again, to remind you that you're more than what you build, that you're enough just as you are." They sealed their promises with a kiss that tasted like forever. 2 years later, Elena sat in the nursery they'd painted together, soft yellows and gentle greens. In her arms, their newborn daughter slept peacefully, her tiny fingers wrapped around Elena's thumb. Adrian stood in the doorway, watching them with wonder written across his face. "Do you ever think about that night?" Elena whispered. "Every day. The storm." "The storm," he agreed, crossing the room to sit beside them. He placed a gentle kiss on their daughter's forehead, then on Elena's lips. "Best storm of my life." Elena smiled, leaning into him. "Mine too." Outside, thunder rumbled softly in the distance. But inside they were safe, warm, complete. One room had become a home. One night had become forever. One accidental kiss had become everything. The storm hadn't been random at all. It had been destiny fighting to be heard. And they'd listened.